Let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It's American Financing. Jamie Dimon said yesterday that not to expect a storm, but brace yourself because what's coming is an economic hurricane. All right, but, don't worry about inflation. American Financing is here to help you. If your finances, if you're having a hard time making ends meet and you own a house, do you have high interest credit cards? Most credit cards now are charging about 19% interest. That's only going to go higher. Please get yourself into a situation where you're not paying loan shark credit card interest. Please get a consolidation loan or a mortgage refi. You could end up saving hundreds of dollars a month, maybe as much as $1,000 a month, and you can skip up to 2 mortgage payments right now, and you can close in as little as 10 days. AmericanFinancing.net. AmericanFinancing.net.
To hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Hello, America. Welcome to the Glenn Beck Program. Today is a very important broadcast. I don't want you to miss a second of it. You will understand. My goal is to help people understand what is coming this fall. And it is more than inflation. Jamie Dimon yesterday said that you shouldn't prepare for a storm that's coming. It's no longer an economic storm. It's an economic hurricane. And it is just offshore. But there's more than just that. Last night, I did a Wednesday night special on Blaze TV about emergency orders. Things that are happening right now through executive order and through changes the administration is making to where they are preparing for a state of emergency, unlike anything you've ever seen before. I do the show last night. This morning I get up and I see Australia. Southern Australia has just declared a state of an emergency because of the climate. As I'm reading that this morning, I look up and I see a report from CNN. And CNN is on the, I guess, California coast. And they're talking about erosion and how climate change is becoming an emergency. You will understand how to prepare your family by the end of the show today. Please lock it in. We begin in 60 seconds. The world would be a much nicer place if people would just, be satisfied with their stuff and allowed you to keep your stuff, But no! This is why we can't have nice things, kids. Cyber criminals will not leave nice people alone. If you haven't had any run-ins with a cyber criminal, you may not know it yet. But you can count yourself lucky, but don't count yourself lucky to last, because nobody is going to survive this. We're all going to be hit by some sort of a cyber criminal. My wife was just hit, last week or 2 weeks ago. She was in the middle of 800 different things. She got an email from PayPal, I think, that said, you need to change your password. Please click on this link. She clicked on the link. She gave them all the information. And then she hit send. And as she hit send, she said, oh my gosh, I don't even know. Is this really PayPal? And she looked at the address and it wasn't PayPal. The first thing she did was call LifeLock. And LifeLock was put on alert by her, so they are watching to make sure that everything is squashed. Also, because we're members of LifeLock, we have insurance, so if something does go wrong, we're covered. LifeLock, the best. LifeLock, save 25% off your first year now with the promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com, 1-800-LifeLock, 1-800-LifeLock, or LifeLock.com, promo code Beck. So, first of all, let me thank you for listening to this program. Let me thank you for making The Blaze the largest center-right streaming platform in the world. Thank you. You have built quite a network. As I used to say about 10 years ago, this is the network that you are building, and we are building it to last. I want to make sure that you understand what is happening if you're watching us on YouTube or Roku or The Blaze or Pluto. We just switched. This is actually really good news. We just brought our master control in-house. Now, we have control rooms here for all of our studios that produce the shows, but then we have, because it's so wildly expensive, we have shipped our master control, which does all the technical stuff, to a New York company. So it comes from our studios here and then goes to a New York company. They encode it, and then it comes back, and we put it online. I've not liked this. None of us have. Because we have all of these third-party vendors, and we don't trust anybody anymore. Our goal is to be able to be completely independent. That is a lofty goal. We couldn't do half of the things when we started because it didn't even exist. Remember, The Blaze was a streaming service when the only other streaming service was Major League Baseball. Netflix, HBO, all of that stuff was not a streaming service at the time. We were number 2 behind Major League Baseball. So we are building as quickly as I can and as we can. Some were watching the TV show last night or the radio show, and they were annoyed that during the ad breaks we had a loop of our logo with some stupid music. And people were, like, hey, what's going on? We want you to know we're doing and moving as fast as we can. But yesterday was the first time that we were on our own in-house master control. And that is something really big for us and really big for you. We're doing everything we can. We're investing your $9.99 or $5.99 or whatever it is, the discount you got it for. We're investing that money, and we're investing it to make sure this is the Alamo. We will be the last person standing. We're not going anywhere. So thanks for your patience. Don't worry. Everything is fine. We are just bringing everything in-house to make sure nothing stands in the way between you and the truth. Now, there is something that is standing between you and the truth, and that is mainstream corporate journalism. There is a story in the New York Times today. Racist and violent ideas jump from the web's fringes to mainstream sites, according to the New York Times. Now, this is all about the replacement theory that we have talked about. Replacement theory is, of course, the theory that whites are in trouble.
Jews will not replace us. It's basically that.
It started with the Tsar. And the protocols of Zion.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, if you remember the Charlottesville Tiki Torch guys, that is the theory behind that.
Correct.
It's not something that, of course, no conservative that I know of believes. Mm-hmm. I mean, that entire movement believes in all sorts of things that guarantee you don't, including abortion and including universal health care and all sorts of things.
Getting rid of the Constitution.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it has no connection whatsoever to anything that we talk about on a daily basis.
Okay. So the New York Times did an extensive look into internet searches and memes and all kinds of things about radical ideas. Well, we knew this story was coming out, I think last Thursday. No, I think it was last Friday. We knew it was coming out because we got this text message from Stuart Thompson, a writer at the New York Times. Hi, thanks for getting in touch. I'm trying to reach somebody at the Blaze for a story that mentions them. Are you the right person for that? I could also use a comment on another bit of the story that mentions a report citing Glenn Beck. I can send more if you're the right person. We responded, sure, go ahead, send both topics. I'll make sure they get to the right people. Then Stuart Thompson, the writer for the New York Times, sent us something. It says, here's the story that we mentioned in the report, which reviews 1,096 posts on Facebook about the Great Replacement and related themes, finding that Glenn Beck and pages affiliated with the Blaze posted most frequently on the set. Now, we found that amazing.
That's shocking.
Because we never talked about it ever until the shooter put it in his manifest. Another part of the story, we conducted a reverse image search analysis on a 28-page section of the Buffalo Shooter's manifesto to see where the charts and images appeared online. We found that one chart about interracial violence featured on page 21 of the manifesto also appeared on the Blaze in this post. Let me know if there's any comment about either of these findings. Happy to chat.
So wait, one chart in this manifesto appeared on a page affiliated with the network?
You're going to understand all of this here in just a second. Thanks. We'll pass this on. What deadline are you working with? Our people said. And then he said, hey, we're trying. Now, this was at 11:14 a.m. We're trying to close this out today. So 4 p.m. Oh. Well, it's a Friday before Labor Day. I'm sure everybody's available to...
Sounds like an appropriate time.
Absolutely.
Did you give me 18 minutes
right.
to answer it?
I don't think that's realistic, we wrote. Is there an editor I should speak with for more time than 4 hours? Sure thing. That was just a conservative guess. That's the first thing the New York Times has ever done that's conservative. That's just a conservative guess on timing. Let me see if there's an update when we will go. Sounds like we're not going until tomorrow. Would a deadline of 10 a.m. tomorrow be enough time? Sorry for the trouble. Given the holiday weekend, I think Tuesday's more realistic, but I don't know yet. We can certainly aim for tomorrow. Then we are sent the links that they sent to us. And so we wrote back, we think you sent us the wrong Media Matters link. Can you double check? And are you referencing the chart from this government report? If so, are you saying there's an issue with us issuing it or posting it?
Citing a government report.
So it was a government report that we did a story on that was not connected to shooting, that he also posted on his manifest. Oh, okay, it's a government chart. So is the source of all the bigotry the U.S. government?
First of all, yes, but...
And he said, no, we didn't send you the wrong link. Then we wrote and said, are you writing about replacement theory or the Great Reset? We think you might be confused.
They are not. Is this? I guess it was Memorial Day weekend. Was everyone else off? Like what was?
I don't know. I think this might be the janitor that was writing this. But we didn't get a response. In fact, we never heard from them again.
Okay, so they pulled the story. They're not going to run the story, right?
No, they ran the story.
Oh, okay.
They just didn't include, what was it?
So basically, they confused Great Replacement theory with the Great Reset.
Yes.
Because they both have similar letters.
In the story, we mentioned this report, which reviewed 1,096 posts on Facebook about the Great Replacement and related themes, finding that Glenn Beck and pages affiliated with the Blaze posted most frequently. Well, no, we posted about the Great Reset.
That's the name of your book. So, yeah, you
Right.
probably did post most frequently about that.
Right, and not the Great Replacement. In fact, it's not called the Great Replacement. It's called replacement theory. This is how stupid the people are at the New York Times. They're in the midst of writing a story that they have to have finished in 4 hours. By the way, the story hit today, but they had to have it finished in 4 hours.
Wait, they had all that time?
They had all that time.
All week to reach back out to clarify this and never did?
And never did.
What a surprise this is.
Yeah.
This is shocking. This is like not even the B team, is it? This
No.
is, we are down.
No.
We're on like the L team.
Yes.
A giant bunch of L's.
Not saying that they're losers. No.
Oh, gosh.
You didn't think
No.
of that. No, he didn't mean
Picked a
that.
random
My
letter that was down the
gosh.
alphabet.
I heard from the Southern Poverty Law Center about you, Stu. I know what you really mean. And it'll be in the New York Times. Or they'll write to you about how many times you've said these racist things, and then you'll point out, no, I never. Are you talking about In the Heat of the Night, that old TV show on CBS? And then you'll never hear from them again.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, I mean, the only time we've ever mentioned Great Replacement Theory is to mock it and say how pathetic it is.
Yeah.
And not to mention that, when we've talked about the Great Reset, which is, by the way, a separate topic that has nothing to do with replacement theory, we've talked about it over and over again as to be very careful to make sure you separate rumors and theories that are online to what is actually true, which is why you wrote a book about it.
Yep.
I don't know how, again, no fact will get in the way of a story from these guys.
No. It's easy to explain. They let Media Matters do their work.
Well,
they get a fax from Media Matters, and they're like, look, Glenn Beck. And either the people are so stupid at Media Matters that they made the same mistake, or they're so stupid at the New York Times they made the mistake. But one way or another, it shows the New York Times is being run by Media Matters. That's nothing new. It's just nice to see it in action. And it's nice to see somebody who makes such a dumb statement. And again, like the New York Times, they'll never take responsibility for anything. They'll just disappear. What email? That didn't happen. What?
That's embarrassing.
Evelyn wrote in about her experience with Relief Factor. She said, I was unable to walk further than my house, one house away from my own. But now I'm feeling better than I ever did before. You can't put a price on feeling this good. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you. Evelyn, love hearing stories like yours. If you are living in pain, please do what I did, do what Evelyn has done, do what thousands of our listeners have done, and just try Relief Factor. It has 4 key ingredients in it that work with your body to fight inflammation, and that is the cause of really most of our problems and our pain. This is not like ibuprofen. This has 4 different directions it hits inflammation at. And that's why 70% of the people who try it go on to order more month after month. So try the 3-week quick start. It's a trial pack. 800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF. Or go to ReliefFactor.com. That's ReliefFactor.com. Feel the difference. 10 seconds. Station ID. Okay, so the White House was not wrong on inflation. They were not wrong. They were lying to you when they said inflation isn't going to be bad. They were lying to you about that. But they're not wrong, because this inflation and the gas prices and everything else was this is not a bug in there. This is a feature of their policies. This is what they wanted. And you'll explain, you'll understand as I explain a little more at the top of next hour. But here is the new, I guess, Siri, the new person that is at the White House as the press secretary, and all she does is read the answers. Here's a question yesterday about inflation.
Just that I understand, the Treasury Secretary says that she was wrong, but the White House was not wrong about inflation.
Here's the thing: we have achieved a. First of all, I explained to you what she was trying to say, so I just laid that out.
So bad.
So those are your words, not my words. I just laid out what she was trying to say and tried to explain in fullness. Her part in her answer. We have achieved an historic recovery through an extraordinarily unprecedented economic moment. The president has consistently noted that the primary drivers of inflation are the pandemic and Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The twists and turns of both these monumental events have affected energy
staring down
prices
at her test.
And also food prices.
Stop.
Incredible. And it's every answer with her. Every answer.
We could get a robot or Siri to do it.
There's an app called Speechify you can get in the App Store, and I think it costs like $100 a year or something. And basically, you can highlight any amount of text, any story, and then it'll just read it back in a pretty normal sounding voice, not like the normal computer sounding voice. You could just do that. Just put the phone up there, and then just press play. You can just put an intern back there, press play, and you could even use her voice, have her voice everything. Maybe you really like her voice. Maybe that's why you hired her. Of course, we know the real reason you hired her is because you wanted to say you had the first LGBTQIA2+ woman of color as the press secretary. That's the reason she's hired. She seems to have no idea about any of these topics. She's just reading all of the answers.
Well, you just can't click a switch and have somebody speak. You just can't do that. You can't click a switch.
I think you can.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Well, here's President Biden again on the economy yesterday. Listen.
There's a lot going on right now, but the idea we're going to be able to, click a switch
or
bring down the cost of gasoline is not likely in the near term, nor is it with regard to food.
Yeah, or food.
Look,
we can't just...
Everything's going to suck, and we can't do anything about it.
We can't just click a switch. No, it's flip a switch unless you grew up in the times where you had push-button light switches.
I understand, and I like the semantic stuff here, but it's the least of our worries.
I know, but it's
the least.
If you can't get that right...
No, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, how is this man going to... He is saying that there's nothing the government can do. That is a flat-out lie, and you're about to find out what the government can do soon.
The Glenn Beck Program.
American Financing, NMLS 182334, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
Okay, American Financing is the lender you want on your side when it comes to buying a home. Whether you're looking for a starter home or maybe you want something bigger, maybe you need to downsize. Doesn't matter. They've got you covered from custom loans to fast closings and everything in between. You can trust American Financing to find the best deal. Now, right now, the problem is the interest rate is going up. So if you're looking for a home and you haven't found the right one yet, by the time you find it, the interest rate could be higher than it is right now. But not with American Financing. They have lock and shop. This is something where you call them and get the approval process started, and you can lock in your rate for 120 days without any upfront fees. It is a great strategic way to stretch your home buying budget a little further and get the right home. American Financing. They're the people that can help you with this. It's AmericanFinancing.net, AmericanFinancing.net, or call them at 800-906-2440, 800-906-2440.
BlazeTV.com/Glenn. The promo code is Bidenflation for $20 off your subscription to Blaze TV.
Hey, there's a new social credit app which everybody is excited about. I mean, it's an angel from the sky. It's an angel, in your pocket. It's an angel under your skin. And it's digital. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic.
Digital angel, don't be scared. It's not the mark of the beast.
That's right. Digital Angel is here. The incredible new invention that will make your life perfect. If you have lost your child, Digital Angel will tell you where they are. Now, does that sound like the work of the Antichrist? Of course not! And remember, because of U.S. false advertising laws, if Digital Angel were the mark of the beast, we would have to tell you. And we're so sure you'll love Digital Angel, it's now on sale for just $666. Come on, what's all this talk of wailing and gnashing of teeth? Digital Angel is not the mark of the beast.
Digital Angel. But it's not the mark of the beast.
So there's a new app now, just been released in Italy, and wow, it looks like China's social credit system, which kind of looks like the mark of the... But what happens is, if you sign up for it, the Smart Citizen wallet is going to be there, and it's going to give you points for things that you do right. And it's wonderful. If you use the app, you'll be rewarded for things like recycling, using like buses, managing your energy well, and not getting fined for any of those things. What they're going to do is give everybody a virtuous behavior point. So you'll get a score, you'll win points, you'll be able to spend on various awards such as discounts and free cultural activities. Oh, man, it is going to be great. It is. Now, they did say no one, quote, obviously, no one will be forced to participate. Oh, okay. All right. And I think that's great. I think we should probably trust them because it's ridiculous to think in 2007 that the housing market would collapse. That's ridiculous. We never bail out the big banks and leave the little guy behind. The caliphate? What? That's a conspiracy. Trump will never become president. And the military would never purge red staters out of their ranks. I mean, why would they do that? Oh, yeah, we're going to pull out of Afghanistan and leave people and equipment behind. Right. And you're saying that I'm going to tell you we can't define what a woman is? You actually believe that there'll come a time where you are ostracized because you say men can't get pregnant? Oh, Mikey, you're crazy. You're crazy. This is not a tracking, China mark of the beast. It's not anything. You're nuts. I mean, it's like the people who say, oh, Antifa and BLM, they're going to burn cities to the ground, and then they'll be called heroes by the media, and then they'll be bailed out of jail by the person who becomes the next vice president. Right. Oh, yeah, and our schools are going to teach CRT. Yeah. Right. Look, believing that these things could happen, that this is not some just innocuous kind of thing that will help people, is totally believable. And to not believe it, I mean, then you'd have to believe like the FBI and DOJ and DHS would target parents as terrorists, or teach transgenderism and turn our kids against parents beginning in kindergarten. Or the FBI would abuse the FISA courts. And then if they did, you're expected to believe that there wouldn't be serious consequences. Right? That's like believing that we're going to shut down the entire economy over the whole globe. Oh, yeah, government's going to come in and tell you when to shut your business. And Americans will just take it. They'll shut their businesses down. And then if they don't, the cities will come after them, wait. What was that theory? They're going to close down your local hardware store, but they'll open the doors of Home Depot because that's a safe zone? Come on, that's crazy. Oh, yeah, and they're going to start, suggesting that we round those people up. Or, what do we do with those kinds of people? It's like the climate deniers. Yeah, we're going to arrest them. There's no inflation. It's transitory. Wait, you just said that there was no inflation. No, it's transitory. Okay, were you wrong? Oops. No, I mean, squirrel. ESG is a conspiracy theory. It's only for your information. That's it. We're never going to apply this. This is so you know what you're investing in. We're never going to hold companies or states or countries hostage by it. That's crazy. So anyway, definitely not the mark of the beast.
Digital angel, don't be scared. It's not the mark of the beast.
No way! Digital Angel is just like your favorite slippers. Comfortable, consistent, and like a tracking device with an internal injected barcode so satellites can watch your every move no matter where you are or what you're doing. And why waste time with those pesky, hard-to-remember first and last names when your friends can just scan your forehead for your identity? It's Digital Angel!
Digital angel.
Warning, resistance is futile.
But it's not the mark of the beast.
And by the way, don't worry about, because there's nothing anybody can do about inflation, and it's not going to get out of hand. And even if it does, Joe Biden, he knew. He said this is going to cost the American people an awful lot. It's going to be hard. We want to stand against Russia. We're going to pay a heavy price for it. And gosh darn it, we all knew what he meant by that. Every American was like, yeah, okay, sure. Eggs, according to the USDA this week, eggs, in the fall could be $1 a piece, $12 a dozen. We all knew that. They explained that to us. Hey, you might be paying $8 a gallon for gasoline. We said, damn the Russians, right? Am I right? Inflation where you don't have the product because we all agreed people should get money from the government to stay home and not go back to work. We all voted for it. We all agreed. We knew, and they were very clear with us. Hey, it's going to cost us a pretty penny. We've printed too much money. We've done crazy things. Hey, let's send $58 billion over to Ukraine. That's just, $7 billion more than the yearly budget for Russia's Department of Defense. But let's send that over to that crooked company or country and don't worry about the accounting. We'll all figure out. Oh, and by the way, it was 58 trillion. And then last week, I think they had to add a few more million to it. And then yesterday, the president said, my gosh, we need to send them another $700 million. Why don't we just give them an open checkbook? Let's just give them the country's credit card. Because we're in. I don't care if we are paying $15 a gallon for gasoline. I'm in. And I don't have to worry because I have an electric car. Don't pay any attention to the blackouts that they're now saying are coming this summer, but only for 2/3 of the country. So that's good. Jamie Dimon, by the way, he's preparing J.P. Morgan Chase, the country's biggest bank, for what he describes as an economic hurricane, and advised investors to do the same. Quote, I said there are storm clouds, but I'm going to change that. It's a hurricane. We're fine at the moment. Nobody knows if the hurricane is just a minor hurricane or a superstorm Sandy. But I'd recommend to everybody, you should brace yourself. JP Morgan is bracing ourselves, and we're going to be very conservative. The only time they've ever used conservative. We're going to be very conservative with our balance sheet. So that means you're going to stop giving loans to people. I mean, unless the Federal Reserve is interested or, BlackRock is behind it. Okay. All right. Well, that's great. He said right now it's kind of sunny. Things are doing fine. Are they? Oh, I forgot. He lives in New York, so he doesn't have to pump the gas for his black sedan that picks him up. So he should ask his driver. Of course, he would never talk to somebody, that far down. I'm going to talk to my driver. What? I'm working right now. We're funding things to replace that person in the front seat. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want a robot to do it. You know what I mean? Talk to my driver. That's a scream. He said, we've never seen anything like this. We're looking at something you could be writing in the history book for the next 50 years. Oh. Huh. He also said quantitative easing backfired, including the negative interest rates, which he called a huge mistake. Oh, well, it's a good... See, we've been saying that forever, right? Since what, 2008? You know, we'd be like, hey, don't go down that road. But we didn't know what we were talking about. No, we didn't know all the systems. You know, we're just too stupid. We didn't go and get our economic degree where we were all taught to think exactly alike. We're just a bunch of hillbilly hicks. We couldn't have seen this coming. And Jamie, don't you dare talk to that man in the front seat who might have seen it coming too, because you knew he was a boob the day he picked you up the first time in that black sedan. By the way, nice black sedan. It's electric, isn't it, Jamie? Anyway, it didn't make us right and you wrong. It just made you weren't as right as you usually are. And we're still wrong. I don't know why, but we're still wrong. He said oil is going to hit $150 to $175 a barrel. By the way, the Western economy is built on the fact that oil will never sustain over $100 a barrel. That's how our economy works. When it's $100 a barrel or less, everything functions. When it's $150 a barrel and it's sustained, it doesn't function. When it's $175 a barrel, we've never considered what that means. Now, I know you're just a bump on the log like me, but let me click the switch. I want to ask you, how long does your family survive with $12 dozen of eggs and gasoline at $8 a gallon? You know what? That would be an economic emergency. Hey, I got an idea. What if we get into a situation where it's an economic emergency, a food emergency, an energy emergency, a war emergency, and then there's riots on the streets because we're in an election emergency? You know what we got to do? We got to hope the president will declare an emergency. Well, people like Jamie Dimon who know better know for a fact that's a conspiracy theory, and that will never happen unless you actually read what the administration is working on. And I'm going to give that to you in about 15 minutes, so don't go anywhere. Back in a minute. So you've decided that you're ready to sell your home. You have the incentive. You know what location where you want to move to. It's time to pull the trigger. Did he say trigger? Oh, my gosh. Why wouldn't he say click the switch? Here's the thing. Buying and selling homes is not an easy transaction, you know, like going to the grocery store, although it is becoming almost as expensive as the grocery store. You need a great real estate agent that knows what you're looking for, knows the market, knows what's coming. Maybe, if you're lucky, is a fan of the show. Well, find that person. Oh, I can find it for you. It's realestateagentsitrust.com. Realestateagentsitrust.com. These are people that have been fully vetted by my team, and it is an extensive. I've talked to some of the real estate agents here recently about it, and they're like, my gosh, it was like an interrogation. We make sure these guys are the best of the best in their area because we want you treated right and getting the best deal for your house, the one you're selling or one you're buying. realestateagentsitrust.com. realestateagentsitrust.com.
The Glenn Beck Program.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. Thank you so much for listening. Stu said that he sensed a little sarcasm in that last monologue, and
just a tad. I think it was difficult for the audience to detect, but I've worked with you for a long time.
Okay, but I didn't mean that to sound like that, because that would put me in a position where I'd say everything that they have told us in the last 12 years has been wrong.
Right there. That's it. Right there. It feels like that's what you were saying.
Yeah,
but you were saying it in a sarcastic way.
No. I'm saying, hey, if they declare an emergency, you go right and do exactly what they say.
Oh, okay.
And
that clears it up.
He's right. Inflation, it's all because of Putin. There's nothing to worry about.
Oh, the Putin price hike?
Yeah. Yeah. So don't worry about that. I'd go back to sleep. In fact, you're getting very sleepy now.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Let me tell you about an Arizona real estate agent. She found that the house that she was living in was listed for sale. Now that's
good. So wait, was she renting it and the owner just?
No, she owned the house and she wanted to continue to live in it, but
Alzheimer's?
It was still that would have been maybe at least a less nefarious explanation. Instead, it was home title fraud, which is really a devastating crime. It's happening all over the country. Basically, someone got control of her home's title and said that her house had been sold to the fraudster. And then they took out loans against the equity of the fraudster, or of the equity of the homeowner. And the fraudster was the one keeping the money while the homeowner has to pay for it. It's not fun. Avoid it. Just don't let it happen to you. Use Home Title Lock. HomeTitleLock.com is the place to go. Check it out, HomeTitleLock.com. Register your address and see if you're already a victim and don't even know it yet. It's HomeTitleLock.com. Tell them Stu sent you, and you get 30 risk-free days of protection. It's HomeTitleLock.com.
To hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
I really don't want to be the one to bring you this news, but I have to if I am being a good servant of you. I care and I worry deeply about what we're heading into for you. Most people have no idea because it's bad, but they think that maybe this is as bad as it's gonna get. I'm gonna give you some information, but I want to remind you, I'm the one that told you that the market would collapse, the housing market. Everyone else, the media and the government, said it wouldn't. I'm the one that said they're going to bail out the big banks and leave you holding the bag. They said, no, they'd never do that. I said the caliphate is real and it's ISIS. They said, no, Trump could never be president. I said, yes, he could. Military would never purge red staters out of their ranks, they said. We'd never pull out of Afghanistan and just leave people and equipment behind. Come on. 10 years ago, do you really think we would have had to ask any appointee, can you define a woman, and have them answer no? Antifa, BLM, burned the cities to the ground. They were called heroes by the media, and then they were bailed out by our vice president, Kamala Harris. They say our schools aren't teaching CRT. Well, yeah, you are. No, you're not. The FBI, definitely. DOJ, DHS would never target parents as terrorists, and yet they did them. We'll never teach transgenderism and have drag queens in our schools beginning in kindergarten. The FBI would never abuse the FISA courts, and if they did, there would be serious consequences. They'd never shut down the global economy. They'd never lock people in their houses like they did in China, right? Americans wouldn't put up with it. There is no inflation. Okay, there is, but it's transitory. Oops, it's a hurricane. ESG is a conspiracy. It's only for your information. Whoops again. No, it's not. Please decide, who do you trust? Who has a record of telling you what really is going on, and who has a record of lying to you? I'll tell you what's coming in 60 seconds. Julie wrote in and recently tell us about her husband's experience with Relief Factor. She said, I ordered Relief Factor for my husband, and he couldn't be happier. He hasn't had the stiffness and the pain in his lower back, and he's suffered with that for years. I'm only sorry we didn't order it sooner. What a great product. Thank you. Julie, thanks for trying Relief Factor, and thanks for writing in. If you're dealing with pain, please give Relief Factor a try. The trial pack is $19.95. It's $1 a day. Hundreds of thousands of people have ordered the trial pack. They've tried it, and 70% of them go on to order more month after month. That tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? ReliefFactor.com. Call 800-4RELIEF. 800-4RELIEF. Get the $19.95 3-week quick start at ReliefFactor.com. Relief Factor. Feel the difference. Okay, last night on my television show, I explained the 3 pillars of transforming our country outside of the Constitution. And it is the playbook that they're using. First, the first thing you have to do before you even start to build something new is destroy everything. You have to destroy the trust in every institution. You have to change the history. You have to change our language. You have to scare people into silence. Then you need to flex your muscle. While you're destroying it, make sure you teach people you stay in your place. I want to show you an example of this. Here is Fauci last night on Fox.
One of the issues, Neil, that I have articulated in the past, and I will in the future, it's less about mandates on the plane than it is about who has the right and the authority and the capability of making public health decisions.
Stop. This is why the Biden administration is fighting the mask mandates on the plane. Court said, no, you don't have to wear them anymore. Why is Biden fighting this? Because he wants his administration to have the control over what you must and must not do. Fauci just admitted it. This is about control. An all-government response to a crisis is the first thing you need to do after you've destroyed a nation, and they're not done yet, but they will be very soon. You have to build something else that it collapses into. This is a frightening set of facts that I'm going to give you today, because this is what they're building. Okay, this is the net. We know it's the Great Reset, but this is how they capture all of it. First, the first pillar is an all-of-government response to a crisis. Remember, never let a serious crisis go to waste. The bureaucracy, the administration, must be weaponized. Mandates have to be rewritten. They need to be prepared to proactively rebuild society from the ashes of a crisis. And that means every alphabet agency, every department, every commission needs to be in lockstep toward that goal. And it's happening right now. In a minute, I'll tell you what has happened with FEMA. No longer is FEMA a reactive. They're a proactive. They've just rewritten the entire goal of that department. Emergencies used to be, it's an emergency, quick, call the governor. Can FEMA go in and help them? Do they need federal help? Yes, great. Go down and do it. Now it's FEMA is looking for emergencies, and how can they make that emergency better proactively? What can they do to make a more stable and equitable community? Did you know FEMA did that? Because they just changed their mission. So you have to have an all-of-government response to whatever the crisis is. Second pillar, you have to have executive action outside of Congress. Everybody knows Congress, the Constitution, will slow any of this stuff down. Now, here's what's interesting. Radicals outside of the government delivered Biden a full plan just a few weeks before his inauguration. It included detailed steps, including multiple executive answers or actions that they pre-wrote for the administration. We've never voted for these people. We've never heard of these people. But those are the executive orders that Biden is executing. The third pillar is international support with teeth. You have to have, you can't just make it you. You have to have the globe imposing this. All right. So let me go to executive action outside of Congress. Build Back Better. The Great Reset. The Green New Deal. Haven't heard much talk about it, have you? But it's all being done. It's all being backed up by executive action. It's all being done not just through executive orders, but also the president just dictates what he wants his administration to do. In December of 2020, a few weeks before Biden was inaugurated, a group called the Center for Biological Diversity approached Joe Biden. Now, I don't know if it was on your ballot, but I remember voting for president, and I don't ever remember seeing the Center for Biological Diversity as one of my choices. They spearhead a collection of over 700 groups that make up some of the most radical climate activists in the country. During the Trump presidency, they made their name by launching an insane amount of litigation, 266 frivolous lawsuits to paralyze that administration, to slow them down. On the website, they brag about their meeting with Biden, and they, quote, presented him with a progressive climate president action plan and model executive orders. Well, there's 10 of them. 10 essential climate actions President Biden can take without Congress. They did the work for Biden. They wrote the orders for him. Now, are they running the country, or is the guy we voted for running the country? Starting at the bottom, number 10, the Paris Agreement. They did that. Number 9, make polluters pay and prosecute polluters. Number 8, advance climate justice. Number 7, launch a just transition. I don't even know what that means. Prosecute polluters? Well, let me give you radical in chief, Joe Biden.
Number 2, holding them liable for what they have done, particularly in those cases where you're underserved neighborhoods and you know the deal, okay? And by the way, when they don't or when they're deliberate, put them in jail. That's what I'm not joking about this.
No, he's not joking,
I'm not joking
about this.
about
No, he passed that. He just signed that executive order. Advance climate justice, that's done. I don't know what number 7 is, launch a just transition, but I'm guessing that's ESG. Number 6, 100% renewable energy by 2030. Now, here's a very important executive order, number 14008. All of this, by the way, you can look up at whitehouse.gov. It mandates a carbon pollution-free electricity sector no later than 2035. That's 5 years over the deadline set by the radicals, but 13 years from today. Ask yourself, why can you not buy a carbon or combustion engine in 2030? There will be no car companies that are making combustion engines. You will pay $15 a gallon if you're lucky. If you're lucky. Why is that? Why is our gas price so high today? Why will there be electrical blackouts over 2/3 of the country this summer? Why are you paying so much for natural gas and energy? Because of this executive order. This coupled with ESG. Let me just say this. By 2030, you'll own nothing and like it. How do you make that happen? You impoverish a nation. Number 5, this is actually an executive order. Weaponize the Clean Air Act. Now, Biden has been on this one from the beginning. Number 4, shift financial flows from fossil fuels to climate solutions. That's ESG. Been happening for years. This is Biden's executive actions on reshaping the U.S. economy. It wasn't reported or described like this, but that is exactly what it is. Please continue to listen today because I'm going to bring you to this fall. And I did the show last night and I agonized over this show. How can I get the most people with ears that can hear and eyes that will see? I don't care about the people who don't watch the show and think I'm a nut job. That's fine. I can't do anything for them. But I can help you and your friends. But you have to know the truth. And sometimes it's hard to look at. But we are right around the corner, and I will explain that to you here in just a second. Once upon a time, slippers were just slippers. I mean, slippers couldn't have babies. Now I think they can. I'm not sure. They can get pregnant. Sure, why not? They were dull. They were boring. Not all that comfortable. Those who wore them were miserable and sad and constantly looking off into the distance and whispering, there's got to be a better way. And then one glorious day, there was a better way. Mike Lindell took over 2 years to develop My Slippers, and they're made with 3-tier cushioning systems, 2 layers of MyPillow foam, and a layer of impact gel that will ensure that your feet will never have fatigue. Or less fatigue. I mean, they can't. Mike's not God. Slippers are made to be worn all day long. They are great. They have a warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee, a 1-year warranty. If you don't like them, 60 days, ship them back. If something happens to them, they're not everything they say, and they start to break down, within a year, you can return them. It's mypillow.com, promo code Beck. They're having a blowout sale on these right now. Mypillow.com. Click on the radio listener specials and use the promo code Beck and receive these great slippers at an incredible low price. It is 800-966-3117, 800-966-3117, or mypillow.com, promo code Beck. 10 seconds, station ID. Everything the left is doing, everything the Democrats are doing, are all aiming for one place. Why do you think they're going after guns the way they are? Because you cannot be armed. And it's just another emergency. So Biden's executive actions on reshaping the U.S. economy is a roadmap. It described $500 billion in federal contracts that will only be going to entities that adequately monitor their emissions. In other words, those who have good ESG scores. And they acknowledge that the federal government is, quote, the world's single largest purchaser of goods and services. And within the executive order, it states why they're doing this. Quote, by identifying and mitigating climate risk through procurement, the federal government is leading by example, deploying public procurement policy as a tool to strategically shape markets. Take the word strategically and replace it with manipulate. It's a tool to manipulate markets. This is being done at the federal level. Manipulation of the private sector, and no one's talking about it. The SEC is taking it even further. They propose sweeping new changes that would require public companies to disclose all of their ESG information. But they don't have to be compelled to comply. A lot of them already are. We showed you a letter last night on the Wednesday night special. Please join the blaze if you're not a member. Bank of America to the SEC announcing that they are already operating under their newly proposed guidelines. The fix is already in. Numbers 2 and 3 of the executive orders stop fossil fuel drilling. Biden's already done that. Remember, not going to open up new drilling sites. Every single one of these actions have been accounted for except the last one. The number one suggestion from this radical leftist group, 10 through 2 have been done. The last one, declare a national climate emergency under the National Emergencies Act. Now, why would you do that? Because the president, in a time of an emergency, has powers that you don't even know. They are extra constitutional powers. They are powers that came into play because of nukes. He can suspend everything. So all you have to do is, declare a national emergency. Of course, our allies might be upset about that. Of course, then again, that's Pillar 3, international support with teeth. So if you have an all-of-government approach, so every single agency is involved, you have public-private partnerships with those agencies, then you do all of those executive actions if you can just get international support with teeth. In a completely unrelated story today, South Australia has joined other governments and jurisdictions around the world in declaring a climate emergency. This yesterday passed both houses of state parliament, reaffirming the urgent need to decarbonize their economy. In fact, they say now with formal declaration of a climate emergency, the focus from the state government must be on building our state's capacity to tackle the emergency just ahead of us. Telling you, this is coming. There is a hurricane, a financial hurricane coming.
The Glenn Beck Program.
Cynthia wrote to me. She said, I have 2 small breed dogs. They have digestive issues. I've tried numerous brands of food, try to be selective in the types of treats that they receive, but nothing helps. I get it. I had a dog with bad farts. Whew, that's wicked. Anyway, she said, I just started. Don't look at me like that. I mean, we can talk about dog farts. I mean, we're not above it. We're still people. She said, however, I just started using rough greens, sprinkling it over their food, and I've actually observed less tummy distress. They obviously love it because they look at me imploringly until I put the rough greens on their food. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rough Greens. Cynthia, you're welcome. Thanks for writing in. The folks at Rough Greens are so confident that your dog is going to love Rough Greens, and you'll see a big effect in a couple of months. That they have a special deal for you. roughgreens.com/Beck. They'll give you the first bag free just to make sure your dog likes it. And if your dog likes it, order the next bag and watch the results roll in month after month. It's roughgreens.com/Beck or 833-GLEN-33. Do it now.
BlazeTV.com/Glenn. The code is Bidenflation for $20 off your subscription to Blaze TV.
So I've been telling you that what is coming is, as Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase said yesterday, he has said in his quarterly reports that storm clouds are gathering. He changed that yesterday. He said, these aren't storm clouds. This is a hurricane. You better batten down the hatches. A hurricane, a financial hurricane is coming. And it only makes sense. You cannot have this country paying $6 and $7 a gallon for gasoline. You cannot have a transportation sector that runs on diesel fuel that is paying $6, $7, $8, $10 a gallon for diesel. It doesn't hold. You can't have food, as the USDA said yesterday, that take all of the inflation from the last 2 years and double it. And that's what you'll be facing in September or October. That's the USDA. So, gosh, that sounds like a crisis, doesn't it? Sounds like an energy crisis. Sounds like a food crisis. A climate crisis. Climate, that's this generation's World War II. It's an existential threat. It's an emergency. A money crisis, as your dollar is just devalued more and more. There'll be a housing crisis. People won't be able to live in their houses. What to do? Homelessness crisis. I just have to throw this in because I don't even know what it means anymore, but they will say that there's an infrastructure crisis, that we have to upgrade our infrastructure because it's an emergency. I don't even know what it means. Most likely it means just funneling that money to Biden children. There's going to be a crime crisis. There's a shooting crisis, an emergency in every place but Chicago. It's an emergency. You don't think it could happen? Let me give you two things. Australia's parliament, South Australia's parliament, has just declared a climate emergency, which they say, now with the formal declaration of a climate emergency, the focus from the state government must be on building our state's capacity to tackle the emergency ahead of us. Now, the conservatives in Australia are like, yeah, but you haven't taken just common sense measures. You haven't done things that, right? Does that sound familiar? In Seattle, because they're now so woke, they've stopped investigating all rapes because they were reimagining the police, and they don't have enough police to go find the rapists. So if you've been raped in Seattle, don't call us. It's all headed toward national emergency. And I urge you to look up the executive orders. I urge you to look at how every single cabinet member has changed the administration and what they oversee to all re-gear towards justice and equity and climate emergencies. Everything. You know, people assume, and this is a really important thing to understand, because people always say, oh, people voted for Hitler. No, they didn't. 1/3 did. Yeah, well, he was a dictator. No, he wasn't. At least he didn't start that way. He rose to power legitimately. And he cobbled together a coalition because people didn't take him seriously. They were like, he doesn't really mean that. He didn't take power. He was handed power. And they kept the existing constitution. There wasn't a civil war. There was just a dual state. There was the state under the Constitution, and then Hitler became the legal head of the government. He was appointed by the president of Germany. He'd be the last chancellor of the Weimar Republic. After that, well, he had to do some things, and he admitted that he had done wrong, and he admitted that he had broken the Constitution. But he had to go at night and round up all those people and kill them because there was a plot against the government. And he'd do it again. And if that meant he couldn't be, in his role as chancellor, that's okay. Well, he felt so bad about it, he decided to go with Führer instead of chancellor. This allowed him to set up the concentration camps, to turn Europe into hell and nearly destroy the entire world in the process. They had a constitution. It was written in 1918. It was a shining example of liberalism and democracy. Article 48 of the Weimar Constitution, unfortunately, gave the president emergency powers. It allowed the president to declare a state of emergency. In case public safety is seriously threatened or disturbed, the Reich president may take the measures necessary to reestablish law and order, if necessary, using the armed forces. It goes on to say, in the pursuit of this aim, he may suspend civil rights, described in the Constitution partially or entirely. Around the same time, the German Workers' Party was founded in a hotel in Munich. 6 months later, Hitler joined. In less than a year, the German Workers' Party became the National Socialist Workers' Party, otherwise known as the Nazis. I think we should call them the National Socialists Workers' Party. 1923, on the heels of an economic crisis, Hitler attempted to overthrow the Bavarian government. A couple thousand Nazis marched through the middle of Munich. The whole thing was a failure. Hitler went to jail. It was over. Except he had a good friend, Ernst Hannsnagel. When police arrived, because he had escaped and he was staying in some Bavarian village, Hitler swore he'd kill himself. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because his friend's mom talked him out of it. He spent 5 years in prison. He wrote Mein Kampf. And then his good friend, who had a lot of connections and lived in America for a while, introduced him to important people because, see, he had friends like Franklin Roosevelt and Charlie Chaplin. He connected Hitler to political power. When the Great Depression came, that was the emergency that Hitler needed because he would restore their spirit. He would restore their national pride. He would feed the people because he knew who the bad guys were that caused all this. Only thing missing once he became chancellor was, I don't know, something they could rally the people around. Well, they founded a Dutch communist. Still, we don't know the truth, but take it as fact. A Dutch communist set fire to the Reichstag. That's like flying an airplane into the Pentagon. Well, Hitler knew. He knew he had to declare an emergency. You know, you can't let a crisis go to waste. So the official name of the emergency was the Decree for the Protection of the People and the State. Notice it was for their safety and protection. That's how Hitler rose to a dictator, perfectly legal. It was for the people's safety and protection. Everything that was in the Constitution, it still remained. As soon as the emergency, was over, then we returned to that Constitution. Yeah. Freedom of speech, freedom for public assembly, even habeas corpus, they'd all come back. But right now there's an emergency and it's forcing us to do these things. By the way, he never repealed the decree. He kept Germany in a state of emergency for 12 years, the entire 12 years of the Third Reich. In times of crisis, the struggle to know the truth becomes violent for no reason. These are the times of crisis. And America, you should know, crisis is around the corner. Do you trust the administration? Because it could be anything. It could be a right-wing guy setting fire to a Reichstag. It could be a left-wing guy blamed on the right. It could be a financial emergency, whatever it is. But the one they're betting on, for sure, is a climate emergency. Just remember, when you have national emergencies, as I thought we all learned with COVID, but that's not been moved in the states. No states are taking that up and saying, never again. So what do you think they're going to do next time? Nobody's risen up and said, stop it right now. The gap between a republic or a democracy and a dictatorship, it's really not as wide as we thought. Jamie Dimon said yesterday that there is a financial hurricane on the way this fall. I believe him. I think we're going to see things we haven't seen ever in our lifetime unless you lived in the Great Depression. If you're not already well stocked with long-term emergency food storage, or if you're not a canner like my grandmother was, you're running out of time to do it. My grandmother told me how they survived on the canned goods that she had canned every summer and the garden that they had. If you haven't already done this, please go to preparewithglenn.com today. Made a special deal. You'll get $150 off a 3-month emergency food kit. That is breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks for one person in your family for 3 solid months. You need at least one for every member of your family. Please, having emergency food set aside is buying an umbrella on a sunny day. Well, it's a cloudy day, and we know a hurricane is coming. Please go to preparewithglenn.com. Preparewithglenn.com. Go there now. Don't put it off. Preparewithglenn.com.
Glenn Beck. Join the conversation. 888-727-BECK.
This is the Glenn Beck program. We're glad you're here. By the way, an upcoming Biden administration rule change, that should chill you to the bone every time you hear that now. An administration rule change will tie billions of dollars in federal education funding to an array of LGBT policies, forcing school districts and universities to implement controversial rules on issues like transgender athletes. Otherwise, you get zip. The U.S. Department of Agriculture also said that it's changing how it interprets Title IX prohibitions on discrimination based on sex to include discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. They are fundamentally transforming every single agency in the country. And Congress can do nothing unless they pass the REINS Act. The REINS Act is the act. They've been trying to get it in for a long time, and nobody wants to play ball with it because it demands that Congress takes back its power. The power of passing a law must remain in Congress. They gave that up long ago. And that's why the administration can become a fascistic dictatorship, because they make the laws. They can change it to whatever they want, and no one is held accountable. When the FDA or the Department of Agriculture or the Department of Education comes, who are you fighting? Who are you fighting? The Department of Education. Yeah, but who specifically? Well, it's not necessarily the secretary because, the administration, it was just a change. We have the right to change it. You don't know even who you're fighting, and you're not fighting anyone who was ever elected. And you're not fighting a rule that was ever voted on. That's how things change, and that's how they are changing. Please batten down the hatches. Please. I earnestly beg of you, when you have an animal that is trapped in a corner, they will do anything to get out. And you now have a Democratic Party that sees their blood in the water. You have a global institution of the Great Reset that is now being called into question by attorney generals. And they're saying, if you try to do this to our investors, it could mean jail time for you. This whole thing, they have to jam it through, and they have. But you're waking up. At the end, you have to have at least a little revolution, and they're willing to have a revolution. Please keep your wits, and please return to God. He is we're going to either be humbled or we will humble ourselves. Please reach back to God and ask for his help and say, by the way, sorry for what we've let happen here.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Rough Greens is our sponsor. What can I say about this? It has worked for Uno. I've seen a huge change in him. I read emails from people. Not all products get the kind of emails that I get on Rough Greens. And that's not because they're not great products. It's because people become passionate about this because their dog is a family member. And when your dog is a family member and you see them differently, imagine if, you had your kids on, Ritalin, and then all of a sudden you saw them off of Ritalin and you were like, whoa, what a great change. That's kind of what Rough Greens is without the Ritalin part. This is just healthy stuff that your dog needs, and your dog, you'll see a difference. Just take it. Month after month, I'm still seeing changes in Uno's behavior and his attitude and his eyes and everything else. Roughgreens.com/Beck. RUFFgreens.com/Beck, or call 833-GLEN-33. Do it now.
hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck Program. This hour, just kind of a potpourri of crazy stories. And are we the only ones that see this? I highly doubt it. We begin in 60 seconds. Tuttle Twins, when you think about our kids' future, how much time are we spent worrying about our kids? May I suggest that you get Tuttle Twins and the Tuttle Twins books? You know and I know. There's a story out right now about the lifeguard shortage that they're having in some places. Arizona, they haven't even, Phoenix has kept about 50% of the pools closed because nobody will be a lifeguard. Wow, sounds like we need some sort of federal program to get these kids back out doing lifeguard thing. No, we just need our kids to understand that work is important. It helps define who you are. And what's even more exciting is if you're a person that doesn't mind some risk, being your own boss, starting your own business. It is essential for America to survive that we teach our kids these things. I honestly thought I taught my kids these things, but I think, I don't know. You never know. You know, when your kids are teenagers, you're like, boy, have I failed. And then they surprise you at some point. I'm hoping to still be around when they surprise me. But I didn't have a tool like the Tuttle Twins. The Tuttle Twins books are fantastic, and they have a new book that's out for free. It's really good. It'll teach your kids what it takes to keep this country going and get them excited about capitalism and entrepreneurship. It's called Tuttle Twins and the Spectacular Show Business. You can get it free. You just pay for shipping right now. Go to TuttleTwinsBeck.com, TuttleTwinsBeck.com. Just for the cost of shipping, Tuttle Twins and their Spectacular Show Business. Get it for your kids and your grandkids now. TuttleTwinsBeck.com. So there's a couple of things. Stu, what is the technical definition of inflation?
Well, we always say too many dollars chasing too few goods.
Too many dollars chasing too few goods.
Right.
Okay. So, like, I'm just going to use this as an example, and I don't think this is right, but correct me. Like, if you have a supply chain breakdown and you can't get the goods.
Right.
Or if you don't have people going to work because the government is paying for them, so you can't get people to fill the jobs, that could end up in too few goods. Right? Is
Seems
that part
that
right?
way?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then too much money. I mean, is that when the government just spends money that they don't have and just prints money? They're printing too much?
Yeah, like if you were to flood the society with printed dollars, for
that's
example.
the actual economic definition of inflation.
I mean, it's technically the cause of it, right? The definition is the increase in prices.
Wow.
But why does that happen? Well, too many dollars chasing too few goods.
We should send that to the White House because I don't think they understand that. They've just paid off the loans for another 500,000 kiddos. Now, I don't know about you, but I went to one semester of college at 30 because I couldn't afford more. So instead of getting strapped with debt, I read 7,000 books in 10 years. I educated myself. Would I have loved to go to school? Yeah, I was going to school at Yale. Would have been nice. Glad I didn't now in retrospect. But couldn't afford it. One semester. Why is the guy who went to college for one semester because he couldn't afford it and didn't feel that it was the responsible thing to take out loans to go to school? Why am I now paying for someone else that I don't know through my tax dollars, paying off a loan for an education I most definitely do not agree with. I'm sorry. Oh, we were talking about inflation. What happens when you pay off everybody's student loan like that? Isn't that a giant influx of...
Well, because, I mean, the theory is, right, if you have a situation where you're worried the economy's overheated, right? That's what they're worried about with inflation. They're saying the economy's overheated.
Right.
We need to raise interest rates.
Correct.
To cool the economy down.
To try to choke back some of that cash flow.
Because the inflationary problem is real.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to introduce, let's say, a brand new stimulus program into the middle of that. Obviously, that would be completely insane.
But they're all college educated, so they'll take that monthly debt that they used to have to chip away at, and they'll just take that, and I'm sure they'll save it in a box. They won't even put it into the bank. That the bank could reuse to loan to other people. They'll just keep it in a box.
When you have too much money... chasing too few goods, that what you don't want to do necessarily is send a bunch of people who are already wealthy a bunch of money so that they can spend it and make the problem worse. And the reason we know this is a stimulus program, Glenn, is because this is precisely how the administration sold the idea when they came up with it like a few months ago, when they were saying what we need to do is we need to release these people from student debt and it will stimulate the economy. They told us it was a stimulus program.
Will you do me a favor? Will you do me a favor? Write down that definition that we just talked. And would you just email the White House?
Because they probably just don't know.
Yeah, I think so, because they say it's Putin causing the inflation.
The Putin price hike?
The Putin price. You've heard of it.
I've heard of it. That's the whole cause.
So let me ask you this. Speaking of the Putin price hike, I got a couple of questions on this one. Biden just announced another $700 million in military aid for Ukraine. Now, first we sent over, I think, $3 billion. Then we sent over, I think, $10 billion. Then we did another, $41 billion, right? So that brought us up to $58 billion. And then, by the way, how much do we, because this can't even be close to what we send over to evil Israel, who gets the lion's share of all of our money. We're always helping Israel out and sending all kinds of money over to Israel to build up their Zionist army. How much is that?
About $3 billion.
I'm sorry?
About $3?
$3 billion. That's a month, a week?
A year.
A year. $3 billion is what we send over to evil Israel that just has to stop. Okay. And we've sent now about $60 billion over to Ukraine, which is not good in the accounting world. Let me just put it that way. Some might say it's corrupt. I say just bad accounting. You know, hey, it happens. So $60 billion. And then yesterday, just a week after we sent another $1 billion, which the week before we sent $41 billion. Biden said yesterday, hey, we have to send him another $700 million. Can I ask a question? Either what's happening to the money that we've already sent, or are we this bad at numbers to where we're like, hey, the White House is asking for 30, and the Democrats in Congress go, no, we're going to make it 40. And so they give him an extra $10 billion, and then he's like, oh, but I need one more. A week later, oh, I need $700 million. Isn't this like a teenager? Wouldn't you start questioning your teenager if they came to you and said, hey, it's really important I get an education, right? Yes. Well, it's going to cost $250,000 for a 4-year education. And you're like, okay, well, you don't have to work for it at all. I'm going to just write that check. And then they come back and go, there was more in tuition. I need I need actually 500,000. And then you would say, I'm going to give you 700,000. And then a week later, they come back and go, I need another 2,500. Okay. And then the next week, I need another 5,000. At what point do you realize you're a moron or your kid is jiving you? At what point? Now, I know that what works in your house isn't the same as it is in Washington. I know for a fact that the things that work in your business, those principles don't apply for governments. And I'm sure if you did that with your kid, you might just keep writing that check and then go broke because you're a moron. But I'm sure your boss would never question, right? If you're making a pitch to a client and they say, well, how much is this going to be? And you say, I don't know, 30,000. And for some reason, somebody at the desk goes, oh, you know what? I'm going to give you 40,000. Yeah, but it's 30,000 that I want you to have 40,000. You just make sure everything is covered. Okay, thank you. That's nice. And then you get to 60,000. Okay. And then you just ask for more money every single week. At some point, doesn't someone in the boardroom say, what the hell is going on here? Well, it's just these printing costs. They just keep going up. I don't think so. You didn't foresee that? You didn't foresee? Because we padded this with an extra $10 billion. And you keep telling us the war is going so great. What are you spending the money on? By the way, we're sending them our old stuff. So it's not like they're buying new stuff from, Raytheon. We're not sending them the best and the newest and the latest. No. We're sending them our old stuff along with our money. And then, because we're depleting our stuff, we also get to buy the latest and greatest. And yes, it's going to cost a few dollars more, but we can afford it. I mean, you're saving money by buying this equipment. Oh my gosh. How dumb are we, America? At what point do your neighbors wake up and go, yeah, this doesn't make any sense? At what point do we stop playing politics? I don't give a flying crap if it's a Republican or a Democrat or a flying squirrel. I don't care. Does anyone have an ounce of common sense? I'm not sure. Might be just you and me.
American Financing, NMLS 182334, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
My son came to me last night. Dad, you know my friend? Yeah. His dad's making him pay for college. Uh-huh. Well, I mean, he's got to work for college. I mean, how is he going to do that? I don't know. Have you figured out how you're going to do that? Because I've been telling you forever, I'm not paying for your college. I just saw the fear in his eyes like, oh, dear God, he's serious. Yes, I am. And I'm not leaving you anything but my best regards. American Financing. They are completely focused on service and guidance. I actually have that written in my will. And to my son, I leave my best regards.
Oh, That's nice.
I've told him that for years. You know what you're getting? My best regards. And that's up from your sisters. They may not even get that.
They're just going to get decent regards, not my best.
They get my heartiest hello.
Ooh.
Anyway, take pride in helping owners finding the right house and being able to afford it and live in it and enjoy it. That's what the people at American Financing thrill about. They work for you. I can't stress enough right now. Please call American Financing. If you're looking for a home loan, if you are looking for, if you're looking to pay down those credit cards that now have 20% interest rates, please call American Financing. It'll take you 10 minutes. Please call them and see if they can't free some money up for you right now. American Financing at 800-906-2440. 800-906-2440. It's AmericanFinancing.net. 10-second station ID. Biznow Ireland's real estate ESG agenda just announced, and I'm quoting, now this is a way for you to invest in this new exciting world that's coming our way. They just notified people investors may need to accept lower margins to build more ESG compliant schemes. I love it when, don't you like it when an investment company uses the word scheme? I think that's good.
Bernie Madoff used that one a lot too.
Yeah. So apparently once they get to, re-equipping all of the houses in Ireland, which I'm sure are not drafty at all. They made those, when they had thatched roofs, they were rock solid. Mm-hmm. Oh, they were actually built of rocks. So there's nothing seeping into that house. And, but they gotta put some, weather stripping on the door or something. Mm-hmm. And that's going to cost some money. So if you're investing in ESG, you're going to probably expect lower returns. But what retiree isn't all for that? You know what I mean? What retiree is like, oh no, I'm not looking for a big return.
Yeah, at least you're saving the planet, though. I mean, maybe
exactly
your returns are slightly lower, but you're doing so much good with that money, Glenn. Mm-hmm. There's a big report in the Wall Street Journal yesterday talking about how what these investment companies are doing with ESG is taking companies that are making big statements about climate change and such and putting them in the funds. Companies like Microsoft, which are, already in all of their other funds. So basically, they're taking these companies that they're already selling to people as investments, repackaging them as ESG and charging them more, I have to admit, when I was listening to this, I did smile a little bit. I don't know if that's the right reaction, but the people who are like, yes, I do want ESG. And then the fact is that they're just getting lower returns and paying higher fees kind of made me smile.
Kind of makes me smile,
but
too.
I know that's not the right
reaction. I think what we can say here is giant corporations and financial institutions learn from us. What they've done is they've taken the organic label, which means nothing. Milk coming from the same teat, just a different box. But it's organic, and they can charge higher prices for it. That's all they've done. That's all ESG is. It's all ESG is. Either that or real people that are trying to, create a new economy. By the way, have you seen how much oil has gone up? It's weird. You might want to invest in oil unless you're part of ESG. And one more story here. German law enforcement officials raided, see if this sounds familiar to you, Stu, or something that I called about a month ago. German law enforcement officials raided the office of Deutsche Bank on suspicion of fraudulent advertising of sustainable investment funds. Wow. So here's the thing. The Frankfurt police came in, seized everything. Deutsche Bank now struggling. Now, isn't this the bank that said a couple of months ago, we're not going to ban Russia from using our services? Wasn't that the bank? And then they, like a couple weeks later, they were like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I was thinking. What? Of course and we're doing it not under duress. No. Sure, we had a couple of calls with people, the ESG police, but that isn't why we changed our mind. We believe in this. And I told you at the time, you watch. You're going to have Deutsche Bank raided. They are going to come and you're going to see them smeared. You're going to see them taken down a notch. Well, there it goes. And who would have thunk it that they might have been greenwashing? What? That they're taking companies, and I'm just making this up, from like Microsoft, which is available in other funds, and they're putting them in those funds and charging higher prices, and you're getting less return. I mean, that's only happening at Deutsche Bank.
The Glenn Beck Program.
So here's the honest and awful truth. Our cars are getting older. It costs too much to replace them. We are taking better care of our cars, hopefully. And we realize that, we're slowly creeping towards Cuba on the car front. But I can't wait until those new electric cars are so cheap and available everywhere. But if your warranty goes out and your car breaks down, how much is it going to cost to fix it? If your car has 5,000, 150,000 miles, it doesn't matter. If it's out of warranty and you need a repair, don't worry about dealing with the paperwork or the headaches or anything else. CarShield is there. When your car breaks down, you're stuck on the side of the road. Every protection plan includes coast-to-coast roadside assistance, rental car options, trip reimbursement, and at no extra cost, you can lock in your price today. So the repair of your car might go up for them, but not for you. When your car breaks down, breathe a sigh of relief. You have CarShield. CarShield.com/Beck. Save 10% right now. CarShield.com/Beck. 800-391-8888.
BlazeTV.com/Glenn. The promo code BIDENFlation for $20 off.
Wow. 24-year-old man was shot and killed while attending a birthday party. 2:50 p.m. Monday, 31-year-old man shot multiple times. He was just sitting inside of his house. 27-year-old man was shot, rushed to the hospital. He died. All these victims are from, of course, the mass shooting in Chicago that we have been talking about all week. Well, I mean, they're separate, which means, there's more than one person with a gun. 46 people were shot this last weekend in Lori Lightfoot's Chicago. But you're not hearing anybody really talk about that. Did you hear about the St. Francis Medical Building? 5 people dead in the shooting last night in Tulsa. It was a guy with a rifle. What were we just talking about? I can't remember anymore. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I mean, that obviously was really bad, too, but the separation in coverage is really amazing.
46 people were shot, 10 of them killed in Chicago. This is a horrendous story yesterday out of Tulsa. A horrendous story. But it involved one guy, a crazy guy, looking for a doctor. Couldn't find them. He starts shooting, and then he kills himself. I mean, it's a crisis. We've got to get rid of those guns, except in Chicago.
Yeah, we're doing the definitive debunking of all the gun myths on Friday's program, Stu Does America.
Really?
Something I think people will really like. Something you can kind of go back to over and over again. And one of the claims we're talking about is looking at violence overall. And what's interesting is if you look at school shootings, deaths in schools from guns. So we're not coming up with some new category here. This is what we supposedly have been talking about all this time. Everyone would say, oh my gosh, it's gone crazy since Columbine, basically.
Correct.
Like, it's been terrible. And we obviously, all of these incidents are terrible.
They're always
However,
terrible.
what you find, of course, when you look at actual amount of deaths per capita since that era, is it was much more dangerous to be in school in the early 90s than it is today. We've actually come down a great amount. The difference is back then, it was one or two people getting shot in individual incidents. And, I find it hard to understand and come to the conclusion that these parents of these kids that were only shot one at a time grieve any less than when we have a mass shooting incident like we've seen in Texas.
So you're saying that when 5 people die in Tulsa, it's horrible, and their parents and the people around them are grieving. And when there are 10 people in Chicago,
spread out across the city in 10 different incidents,
spread out,
those people mourn
are the
too.
Same?
And there's a little extra thing on this. It didn't seem like the left mourned all that much for gun violence victims when they were, in inner cities. They don't seem to care much about them at all. They seem to only care when they find these large incidents in suburban towns.
Because none of it matters to them. They don't care. As Fauci said yesterday when asked about, so why are you guys suing the airlines to be able to put people in masks again? Because this is a quote, because it's not about the masks, it's about the power. Who decides that you have to be masked? That's all this is. This is all about power. That's it. By the way, do you really think the left cares about women? Well, if they did, they're sure not taking care of our daughters. If they did and you live in Seattle, God forbid your wife, your girlfriend, you are raped, because now sexual assault and child abuse units are so depleted from the reimagining of the police that this year they haven't looked into a single case where there was an adult victim. Not one. Now, this is something that I think Seattle should keep to themselves. We can talk about it out here, but eventually people are like, wow, nobody's looking for rapists. They'll get on a plane and go to Seattle because I guess they don't care if you're raped. Nobody's looking for you. You think they really care? The answer here is clear. Have rapes gone up or down? Have murders gone up or down? Okay, you should stop reimagining things because your imagination is showing you a different world. But will they do that? No, because it's about power and chaos. Now, Canada, thank goodness, is cracking down on handguns. Because of all of the deaths in Canada, they want to make sure this never happens. So we're cracking down on handguns and all kinds of guns. But they've also decriminalized cocaine, meth, and opioids. So, hey, no handgun, kids, but cocaine? Have at it. Meth? You bet. Who's ever been hurt by meth? Whoever has seen a kid go into a school and force everybody to smoke or eat or shoot meth, huh?
Whatever you do with it.
Whatever you do with meth.
Right.
When's the last time that happens? Never. So we don't care about it anymore. But they do care about your kids. In fact, the Congress and the Democrats, they care so deeply about your kids. They want to get rid of those evil guns, although they don't think it's reasonable to actually pass anything that says we should have people with guns like police officers in the schools. See, here's the great thing. You are free in your state to do what you want to do. You don't have to wait for the federal government, nor should you. There are cities here in Texas right now where they got former military standing outside. Some cities, they're volunteers, they're dads of children in the school. And they're like, yeah, I'm just going to stand out here. I just want everybody to know you ain't coming in here because my kid is in that school. So I'm going to help the school out.
This is another weird direction the left has taken over the past week or so, where they've started to say, there's always a debate of whether gun control would be the solution in some way.
By the way, has it curbed the gun deaths or the violence and the murder rate in Australia?
No.
Did it
We're
do
going
it
to go over all of that, by the way, in the special.
Did it do it in England?
No.
Yeah.
And it's not made much of a difference anywhere. It's been
weird.
Attempted.
Huh.
But beyond that, okay, you want to make gun control a potential option. Maybe the right says, hey, we should be thinking about securing the schools. And okay, you can talk about that. They would always say, though, sure, securing the schools, there might be something to that, but you don't want to create a police state. You don't want to create a feeling that these kids are in prison. It was always that type of argument.
You already did it with COVID.
And not to mention, you do it at every bank that you go into. People don't feel like it's a police state. You protect things that are valuable to you.
No, that's not true. I walk into like the Metropolitan Museum of Art. There's nobody around with guns or security.
Of course.
You walk in there anytime.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk into an art gallery and feel like you're in a prison.
We learned this week we put a shield around the Mona Lisa, right? Because someone might hit it with cake. Obviously
somebody shot it in 1956, and so it's behind bulletproof glass. They shot the Mona Lisa, who, I don't know if you know this, that woman, whoever she was, dead. Long time ago, dead.
We've lost her. But the idea now from the left is that security doesn't even work. It's not now. Armed security does not work to prevent these things. Now, obviously, just like any other place that has security, it doesn't mean 100% of all events go away, though we do know that 100% of mass shootings do end when security is there. It's just a question of whether it shows up before or after. We all know that it does end all mass shootings. They don't just stop when they run out of bullets, typically. It's when police do show up.
And isn't it weird that it's happening at schools, which is the #1 gun-free zone? Completely unrelated, I'm sure.
Totally unrelated.
Completely unrelated.
By the way, we'll have all the evidence on this this special I was talking about. It's if you subscribe to the Stu Does America podcast, you'll get it on Friday.
So I just want you to know, and I mean this truly, deeply, and sincerely. I don't really care about Johnny Depp or Amber Heard. I mean, they could both just disappear, and my world wouldn't change at all. So, but here's the one thing I do want to say. Anyone, Elon Musk, you're not a genius. You're a dope. Because they're saying now, she doesn't have the money to do it. He's going to bail her out. Elon Musk, you're a dope if you bail her out, for the love of Pete. That woman is psychotic, and Johnny Depp is just as crazy. Honestly, they deserve each other. Here's the only thing that really should be said. He failed to make the case in Europe. She won in Europe. He wins here. What are the people in Europe saying about this now? Their editorials are, it's because he had a jury in America. It was one judge over there. I would also say it was one judge who was trying this, right in the middle of the Me Too movement. You better not, Judge. You better not. Don't do it. This is the end of the Me Too movement. It's still going to happen. But the idea that we just cancel people because one woman says something or one man says something, that might return back to being crazy. We might actually be waking from that frickin' nightmare. But then again, I see what's happening over with Star Wars. Now Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. Obi-Wan Kenobi has spoken out. And, wow, apparently hundreds, this is according to Disney, hundreds of letters that called her all kinds of names because they were racist. Now think about all the racist fans of Star Wars, because they're all racist, you know that. Think about over the entire planet how many people are Star Wars fans. And hundreds of them.
What?
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Wrote in. Give it a rest, Disney. I've got thousands of them coming into me. Thousands. You got hundreds? Really? Because that's weird. Did you get any of those from any other black actor? Because I don't know if you know this. There's lots of black people that have been in Star Wars, and it's never been a problem before. And you know what else is weird? People don't even see race when you watch Star Wars because everybody is different. Everybody.
Horns coming out of people's heads.
Right.
You know.
I mean, the guy she's with, I didn't notice she was black. I noticed she was human because the guy she's with has like weird, creepy red eyes, and I don't know what race he is. I don't think he's from around these parts, but I judged him by his actions.
They really have. Star Wars really has talked me out of being interested in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just can't get myself to even bother to watch this. It's I normally, my whole life, have been interested in every new Star Wars release, and they're making it so much about this nonsense. I mean, the Gina Carano thing is the worst example of it.
Did you care about the thousands that came in about her?
Yeah, no, they didn't care about it at all.
Nope.
And then they employed the guy on the left who did the exact same thing. All of her co-stars to this day come out and say what a great person she was to work with. It's insanity.
All right, let me tell you about Goldline. Goldline this week, and this is it. Goldline has decided overwhelming popularity of their pre-Memorial Day sale last week. They're going to extend the promotion in case you weren't able to call before. Got a lot on your mind this week, I know I do. Last week, Bill Ackman said that a market collapse is basically the only way to stop inflation. So that's a happy thought. And one of the stars of Shark Tank said he sees the stock market dropping another 30% before the rout is over. Again, more good news. Jamie Dimon said yesterday, a financial hurricane is coming before fall. That's great. Why do I not care? Well, I actually do care deeply because I have friends who don't pay attention. I know you have friends that don't pay attention and are not prepared. Will you please call Goldline? They're offering a free half-ounce platinum War of 1812 commemorative coin with qualifying gold purchases. I don't care if I make money. I mean, I just want something left at the end. Do you feel that way? I've worked my whole life. I just want something. Gold. Right now, you get the Platinum War of 1812, qualifying gold purchases. They're also throwing in free silver as a thank you for listening. So call them now, 866-GOLDLINE, 866-GOLDLINE or goldline.com.
The Glenn Beck Program.
If you missed last night's program on Blaze TV, make sure it's a must-watch. BlazeTV.com/Glenn. Use the promo code BidenFlation, and you'll get 20% off your subscription, which should keep you right in line with inflation. Thank you, Joe Biden. Bidenflation. BlazeTV.com/Glenn. Join us now and don't miss last night's episode.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.